Nick, thank you so much for joining us. This is our Freedom Team Agent Attraction Call. It's where we bring in the top agents to really talk about what they've done in agent attraction and why it's important to them. And Nick, I want to take a minute though and share the bio that Sean shared with me because it was powerful. So let me hop over there and just read this to everybody. And this is being recorded, so we will have a lot of people that are going to pick it up afterwards. So Nick Good, again, thank you for joining us today. He's a best-selling author, team leader of the Real Producers Real Estate Team of the Year. He is the founder of the Good Home Team and the co-host of the only real estate podcast that is worth listening to. And I love that. I love that. So Nick entered the real estate realm in 2005, and then everything changed in 2009. And then he partnered with his brother, Austin Good. And the two took that DFW market by storm, just building a reputation for outworking, out strategizing, and out serving the competition. Now, inspired by the principles in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Nick built his business on a foundation of systems, prospect mastery, and relentless accountability. That formula created one of the fastest growing teams in North Texas, now closing more than 60 million in real estate volume annually. Across his career, Nick has focused on identifying and developing leadership talent, building scalable operations, and deploying cycle-specific strategies that keep his team competitive no matter what the market is doing. So today, alongside leading the Good Home Team, Nick shares his framework and strategies for agents nationwide. He speaks on the top real estate podcasts, teaches in-person workshops, and provides one-on-one coaching for agents who want proven, practical systems, not just theory. So Nick is known for delivering simple, actionable ideas that help agents thrive in today's shifting real estate landscape. So Nick, welcome to our team, and thank you so much for coming on today. We truly appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Isn't it always fun to read someone's bio?
Well, it is fun, and I truly enjoy what you've created because you and your brother have just really exploded that market. 60 million in production. That's what a lot of agents would want to be able to do. What else, Nick, might you add to that to help our folks really understand who you are?
Sure. It's all about, and as that bio, I mean, it's a little dated as it was created. It was more about creating something that was duplicatable and scalable. You know, a lot of times where we see agents, fall into the trap of just the real estate industry and the business itself is that they become the jack of all trades. They become everything. They become their own assistant. They become their own lead generator. They're their own showing assistant, and they're unable to scale. And they start hitting a certain ceiling, or they get burnt out because they're working 24/7, and they start to either go backwards in business or their personal relationships start to suffer. And so what we really had focused on is how do we build something that is scalable, duplicatable, and replicatable by anybody that joins our team and joins our organization. So I feel that today in 2025, I mean I'm really less than 2% of our business. It's going to be more than that, probably 70 to 75, just depending on how this month closed out. In production, we've had in the midst of one of the worst real estate economies that we've seen in a very long time. I mean, we've had record months, and so it's just a testament to just really what our organization has put together and the agent partners that we have run alongside with us.
It absolutely is. And Nick, can you take us back a bit in your journey from what you did prior to real estate, how you got into real estate, and how that trajectory started? I gave the audience just a little bit of that, but give us a little bit more of what that journey looked like for you.
Sure. I've never had a real job, so this was my first real career. I was in college delivering pizzas, and My brother and I had always wanted to be real estate investors because that was, we read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yes.
and just wanted to start building cash flow. And at the time, more millionaires were created because of real estate. So we wanted to learn that industry and the business. And while I was in college, there was a job posting for a real estate assistant. And what better way to kind of what I thought to learn just the real estate industry and become maybe an investor myself was come and get paid and work for a top independent broker. And so I
Yeah.
interviewed, got the job. This was in 2000, I think 2005,
Okay.
and got the job and just kind of learned the inner workings of how that it was a husband and wife team before teams were really really big, and they were an independent brokerage. They weren't affiliated with any a franchise or big box brokerage name. And I just learned how they did it. And in
Yes.
2007, I got licensed in '06. In 2007, I graduated college. They had offered me a full-time salary with a little bit of some overrides to continue helping them with their business. And I asked the question. I said, "Look, I appreciate it. Could I make six figures selling real estate?" And he said, "Yeah." My broker, my boss at the time said yes. And so I said, "Great. I don't want the salary. I want to go 100% commission." This was 2007. Had just graduated college. I just bought my first home, and I was also getting married all in the span of that 90-day window of all of that. So,
Yeah.
not a lot on my plate. And I did not make $100,000 my first year selling real estate. In fact, I sold three houses and kind of started to, in 2008, I had just started kind of studying the industry before, I was buying books. And this was really before anybody was really sharing stuff on YouTube because it wasn't big at the time.
Right.
And I had come across some online lead generation websites and started kind of focusing on that and blogging. And
Yes.
I think Active Rain had just started back then and started writing about some active adult retirement communities in our area. And I just started getting some business. And my claim to fame in 2008 would have been, if it was successful, I had 8 closings in 1 month, except that
Okay.
the financial collapse started to happen and all 8 of those contracts fell out.
Oh no.
Yep. And it was the most frustrating, I was just in a bad spot mentally. Didn't think that
Yes.
I was cut out for this industry, the cutthroat, the roller coaster of the highs and the lows, the feast or the famine. And I did what any normal, sane human being would do is I started looking for a job.
Okay.
And I was just kind of neglecting my real estate business. And 2008 was not the best time to go look for jobs.
No.
That was at the very beginning of all the financial collapse mess that was going on, and everyone was scared of what was going to happen. And it took me a while. And finally, I had a job offer from a foreclosure asset management company that wanted me to work. They wanted me to work Monday through Saturday. They had a lot of backed up inventory. And realistically, if I wanted to hit some of the bonus structure, they wanted me to work on a Sunday. And I would have to magically, if I wanted to hit bonuses, I would have to magically make an 8th day of the week so I could hit their bonus structure. So,
Wow.
I really needed income.
Yeah.
And, they offered, it was like 60 or 65,000. That sounded great. It had health benefits and all that other good stuff. What normal person wouldn't take that when they don't have any income coming in? In fact, they were losing money. And I said, I need to go home and talk to my wife. And I went home, and on the way home, there was just this kind of light bulb moment that hit me that if I would to dedicate the amount of hours that this job that was going to pay me $60,000 or $65,000 a year on, if I were to dedicate that same amount of hours to my real estate business, going and focusing on finding motivated buyers and sellers, because there were definitely a lot of motivated sellers back then,
Yes.
there would be no reason why I couldn't at least make $65,000. And
Yeah.
it was kind of this light bulb moment that before that, I was treating this industry and this job that I was treating like a part-time job, and I was expecting to make full-time income.
Yes.
And I went home, talked it over, and the next day I declined that job opportunity. And I just went full in on focusing on how to learn how to talk to strangers and find and call motivated sellers.
Yes.
And I started learning how to call expireds, cancels, for sale by owners, and just getting over the fear of being rejected or talking to strangers. And slowly started having success again. And 2009, I broke over the six-figure mark.
Okay.
And
So you
at the
got
same
there.
time, I partnered with my my brother, who him and I started. We founded the Good Home Team in '09,
Yes.
and started growing our business, really focusing on listings and doing it through proactive prospecting. Proactively calling for sale by owners, cancels, expireds, and building it off of that. And then we crossed over the $1 million GCI mark in 2015 and never looked back.
That's a beautiful story. Now, what brokerage were you with at the time that you were creating this kind of growth?
Absolutely, great question. So in 2007 when I left that independent brokerage that I was working for to join Keller Williams. I had some
Okay.
friends at Keller Williams. They were around my age. I was 24 years old, and they seemed like they were having success. And the trainings that Keller Williams was throwing back then were phenomenal. So I joined Keller Williams in '07,
Yeah.
and then ultimately never thought I'd leave the place. I got my broker's license, thought I'd open up some franchises with them, and then I joined EXP in 2019, and that was the second best decision that I ever made. The first one was getting in the business. The second best one was partnering with EXP in 2019.
And what did that conversation look like for you when somebody approached you about EXP?
I mean, it wasn't pretty. I it first got pitched, I think, in 2018. Uh,
Yes.
at the beginning of 2018. And look, I'll tell you the type of players that were going to EXP at that time, they were not people that I would want to be aligned with.
Okay.
Just to be blunt and transparent with it,
Exactly.
at least locally. And and unfortunately, I'd bought into some of the propaganda that the other brokerages were putting out about the company.
Yes.
And it wasn't until 2018 that I started to look into it a little bit deeper.
Okay.
I think that's 2018, I believe, is when Jay Kinder, who was a real estate coach and mentor of mine, and Michael Reese, who was in my marketplace,
Yes.
when they ultimately joined EXP. And so it kind of opened my eyes of like, all right, these guys are doing something.
Yeah.
They definitely have their finger on the pulse. What did they see that I didn't see?
Right.
And I will tell you, I came over to EXP for 3 days in 2018, and then came back to Keller Williams. Now, that was really the best thing that could have happened. In hindsight, I wish I would have stayed, but it really solidified when I did come back again in 2019. It really solidified the move, and the reason
Yeah.
being is that, look, I love, I'm actually recording. This is, I'm a partner in a podcast studio, and we're actually shooting it from a Keller Williams, office. So the funny part is I still come here to a Keller Williams office to shoot a podcast that I co-host with my producer Jesse. And
Okay.
I still love. There's a lot of people I love here. What I learned
Yes.
from it was that, unfortunately, that brokerage just didn't. They couldn't offer the same thing that EXP did. They tried, and they just unfortunately couldn't deliver. And so
What did you see in EXP that drew you in then, Nick?
the first go around, it was really about collaboration. I mean, Keller Williams had that in the beginning. When I first joined, we were all about collaborating. We were all about sharing. And I am a believer that, we shouldn't have to, go behind paywalls or pay for really expensive coaching. I believe that we should share, our knowledge. There's plenty of it to go around. And the more that we share and the more that we help and the more that we improve this, our profession, the more that it will come back to us,
Right.
and some. And so, unfortunately, the landscape in that middle 2015, 16, 17 era, we started to see more and more agents and teams starting to put their knowledge behind paywalls and saying if you want access to peek behind the curtain, it's $1,000, $1,500, $297 a month. And when Jay and Mike came over, they'd opened up their coaching playbook for
Yeah.
free, which
Yeah.
was I thought was awesome. And
Exactly.
Keller Williams had made me an offer of not monetary, but some options to build some divisions and departments, and it just never came to fruition. And 2019, I had come this close to opening up a Keller Williams franchise. We'd started the incubation process. We actually started recruiting. And before I plopped down that commitment of money, I had to ask myself the legitimate question, which is, if I'm going to have to recruit if I'm going to have to go put all this on the line, is Keller Williams the best horse to place my bet on?
Exactly.
And I'd said, look, the money didn't come from really the Keller Williams offices. Your money as a franchise owner really comes from the ancillary revenues, and I didn't like that. Um, I didn't really like what was happening with the profit share model, and this is not the brokerage brand, but this is or bash. This is not. This was really what was coming in with my decision to come back to EXP. And ultimately, instead of plopping down that money, being on the hook for a new office lease and all this staff, having to go and recruit and not really being able to financially benefit other than hopefully they produce in the office, and I'm landlocked, right? I can't recruit someone that's in another state to my local office. I went back to my leadership team. I said, give me one good reason why I should move forward with opening this franchise versus going to EXP. And they didn't have one. They just said that, the model's flawed and it's going to fail. So, well, that answer is not good enough. So July of 2019, we officially moved our team back to EXP. And July. We had, I think, that month we had 20 closings. So it was a chaotic month. It was not something I recommend I would ever do again, is move in a very busy sales cycle. And we just started reaching out to agents and letting them know our story, and
Right.
we started attracting, and it started to grow, and then obviously COVID hit, and we were built. I was like, look, guys, we were built for COVID. A lot of the local brokerages, they didn't have their trainings down. We were made for online training. We were made for this virtual environment. And so we continued to recruit. And then obviously, the COVID real estate market was great. And we had more and more agents coming in. So we were just attracting. We were growing, and the stock was growing. And we never thought the music would slow down the way that it did.
Yeah.
So I think I topped out at 445 agents in our downline organization. And, um, and everything was going well. Revenue share was going well. October 6th of 2021, my brother, who's my business partner, passed away. And so, I had to go. We were building a huge real estate development division, and we had millions and millions of dollars of loans on the line. So October 7th, I had to go to work to go complete those projects. And I'll tell you, the great thing that later on, looking back, is that I never once worried about money, because one, revenue share continued pay. Right, I was making six figures in revenue share. Now, at the same time, we started to experience the pullback in the real estate market, and instead of, we were no longer growing. Like, realistically, I would have been at 800 to 1,000 agents or more by now. But with all the events that happened, plus the pullback in the real estate market, we actually experienced an attrition, and we went from 440 something agents down to I'm around 215 agents. But our production is now continuing to go back up, and it's all been focused on really helping agents in the marketplace find solutions, because our philosophy is that money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the bigger the money changes hands. And there's a lot of problems in the marketplace right now. So our agent stock, real estate agent stock, should be at an all-time high.
Yes. Yes. Now, this is an agent attraction call, so we're going to focus on that a little bit. And thank you for sharing your numbers as it went up, as it's come back, as it carried you through some of the tough times. Thank you for sharing that story. What for you, as you're looking at the faces on here, what for you has truly worked in the agent attraction arena when you started and now?
So back then, what worked then was EXP was still, it was the buzzword. So back then it was like, hey, would you take a look at this brokerage? Would you poke some holes in it? Tell me what your thoughts are. And that worked, right? We got people on our EXP Explain call, and talked about the stock, and we talked about hey, if residual income. And as EXP took off and became more well known, right, those kind of, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, I believe that those are less effective tools today. Right? We have a lot more competition from the revenue share brokerages. And today what is working is we've evolved into, hey, let me come poke some holes in this, to, let's have a conversation about your business. Can we find common ground for us to come together and collaborate so that we can help each other grow? And if we can find that, why would you not want to be here a partner, and partnered with us? If I can show you how we have grown throughout, one of the worst real estate cycles that we've seen since 1994, the lowest transactions that in the United States history since 1994. If we can show you how we're still selling 230, 250 houses a year, if I can show you how, I'd say, Craig, if I can show you how my agents, we sold 36 houses in August alone, a company record. If I can show you what they're doing and having conversations to find motivated sellers and buyers and tapping into the network of people that know, like, trust, and love you, would you take a minute to talk? I just want to learn their business.
Yeah.
And, from there, I just ask about their brokerage. I say, what do they love about it? What do they not love about it? What is one thing that they could change? And then I just go into, again, I'm a problem solver. So I'm going to go into start having conversations of building our community and our network, our Honey Badger Nation that we have, that Jay Kinder and Michael Reese created. And now it's on us, from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to continue to create that and to go deeper on it. And people, we thrive in community. We thrive in with collaboration. And it needs to feel like, that they're not getting sold a bag of goods. And I think that's what happened in the early years is, a lot of attractors that were fly-by-nights were just kind of offering, everything in the kitchen sink, and then people got turned off by it.
Right.
So look, it's all about sharing and collaborating.
Well, and you have a powerful story and a powerful team. And with the Honey Badgers, a great system to put them in, just like we do with the Freedom Team, just a great collaborative audience to put them into to help them create more transactions and learn about agent attraction. Now, most of our agents on the call are not going to feel quite as confident with their production as you. They're not quite in the same space. And you've got to have agents on your team that struggle with that as well. How would you coach those folks to say, here's where I'd lean in, and here's how I would start that conversation?
Look, my belief is that our belief here as our organization is that anything that you plug into needs to be duplicatable and replicatable for anybody. And so, when I hear like what you said, people may not be as confident because they don't have the sales numbers or, just the experience. And I'd say, like, number one, I started where they were. I almost left this industry. And the more that an agent gets plugged in, they need to understand what the offer is. And it's no different than talking to a seller and buyer of why they should use your services, right? Real estate agents are a dime a dozen. There's discounters. There's people that are brand new. There's people that have been experienced. So why would they use Melvin versus me? And so what you got to understand is your Freedom Team here, I'm sure, has amazing tools that they can plug into, that they can go back and say, hey, Jane and John Doe, I know that, and just start talking and having conversations. That's all it is. And I would show up to networking events. I would get a pulse and a feel of what's happening in your marketplace, what agents are feeling. And just, again, having conversation. I can't stress that enough. There's not a magic pill to start building confidence. The only way that you can do it is build it brick by brick, conversation by conversation, and plugging into your network and understanding what all does your network and EXP have to offer. What do you love about it? And just start talking about it. Because I'm sure, have you ever been around someone that has just raved about a product that they may have just gotten, and then you're like, holy smokes. And then you start checking it out, and then you buy it because they raved about it.
Exactly.
And ultimately, you didn't need that. So why are we not doing that? Why are you not raving about the Fast Cap program? Why are you
Yeah.
not raving if you know people that are licensed in multiple states to have one monthly, brokerage fee and one cap?
Yeah.
Let's rave about the things that we love and we know about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you help your agents um, shift from, I don't feel qualified, I'm not quite sure what to say, who do I talk to? How do you coach your agents to raise that level of confidence, to start leaning into sharing what is beautiful about the platform we have?
So first off is that if we're doing deals, we're talking to agents on the other side of the transaction. If you're going to network meetups, I would highly advise just getting back out there. Go to network meetups, talk to agents. You're going to find the ones that are willing to share and the ones that aren't.
Hmm.
Build the relationships with the ones that are willing to share. Get deeper involved in that. Start a Facebook group. I just bought a local real estate Facebook group here for DFW realtors, Dallas Fort Worth realtors.
Yeah.
And my goal and my intention with this is not to is not to recruit. This is not a recruiting play. This is about creating a space of networking and collaboration that we can ask questions. We can share strategies if you're willing to share strategies. And the more that you come from collaboration, contribution, it's Gary Vaynerchuk has a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. Right. The
Hmm.
more that you give, the give, and then you can ask for something.
Yes.
You come out of the gate, and this is the problem that I had in 2018, 17 and 18, when some of these new, the legacy EXP agents that were going over there that just wanted to recruit and build revenue share, they came on and just right hooked, right hooked, right hooked. They were trying to go out with a recruiting knockout punch without building a relationship, without building rapport, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I would say at the same time, who attracted you into EXP? What what were you attracted? Why did you come here?
Right.
And I would venture out to say that you're not the only person that is this, loved the reason why you joined here. You were not the only reason, you're not the only person that loved what the Freedom Team or that your sponsor who attracted you. You're not the only person that would be attracted to that. So start having more and more of those conversations and find your similar avatar that brought you to EXP in the first place.
Yes. Now, Nick, as you have grown your organization, to have 445 agents is a big number, and even 200 is a very respectable number. How are you growing through the we'll call them generals, the folks in your team that also believe agent attraction is where they want to be and they want to create that passive income? How do you support them?
So we're now focused now that I've gone through, the grieving and the cleaning up of the passing of my brother. Now it's this past year it's been back focused and the to stop the bleeding of agents leaving, right? We started to reaching out again. For those from 21 to 20, end of 24, I mean, there was no reach. I wasn't doing any reach out. And we had one real big general, Chauncey Pham, who she got burnt out on the business. And so, she had to take a break too. And she built an organization where every agent wanted her time, one-on-one time, and to ask questions, and it just burnt her out.
Yes.
So she had to take a break, and it was working. I worked with her and helped her, starting to get re-engaged, and we're now turning the faucet back on. So it's really about number one with the generals is helping them find and build systems to connect with agents so that they don't, as bad as this sounds, so that the agents that you bring in don't tear you, don't tear you up, piece by piece.
Right.
There's only so much time that we have, and we want to also make sure that we have the freedom to be
Right.
able to enjoy life and not be bogged down with maybe someone's having a problem with the EXP, right? Because usually the only time we get reached out on is when someone wants us to help solve their fire, put their fire
Right.
out.
Right.
And so it's just putting better systems in place. And we worked with Chauncey on that. I've got another. I will tell you that the co-sponsorship has been game changer. So I've really
Game
leaned
changer.
into co-sponsorship, and I helped. I'm helping the generals understand how that works. Not only being a main sponsor, but attracting other people and other organizations. Maybe we offer something better, and how it can help their revenue share grow by being a co-sponsor. With Chauncey, we connected her with another group that helped solve her immediate problem, which is getting people aligned in a community. They have Monday through Friday trainings, and it really has worked for her. So we've turned that on.
Yes.
And then we're starting to building out done for you systems. So
Okay.
we're really working on, if you come into our organization, how can we help you turn on your marketing funnel? How can we
Okay.
help you? How can we help you use this marketing funnel as an attraction tool? Because
Yes.
I always tell Chauncey, I'm not a Chauncey fan. Chauncey attracts her people through YouTube, TikTok. She knows how to master social media and knows how to really connect through video.
Yes.
And I said, your energy and my energy, that those don't come across the same in video. So I can't replicate the same success, and neither are the people that join you.
Yes.
And so what we've had to do is look at how can we offer solutions that anybody, a Leanne or a Brad or a Craig can come in, and if they start talking about the success they're having with our marketing funnels and our automations, that anybody can replicate that same success. And so that's really starting to work. We just launched that a month ago.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. We've been taking advantage of Michael's funnels as well in our
There you go.
team. And
Yes.
it's just a beautiful tool to offer to our agents as a growth opportunity for them in their business.
And if
So
you do it right, I have two. I've got a 60 unit producer that is on their they're on their final approach to saying yes. Yeah, they have a three-way call set up this week. I've got, even a new agent, attracting new agents. I've got a call tonight at 7, and she loves the automations and the done for you systems.
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful tool to plug people into for sure. Now, Nick, as you go back and think back to when you very first came on, is there one or two things that, as you look back, you might have wished you did a little differently?
That's a great question. I wish we would have. I mean, no, actually, no, I don't. No, I believe everything happens for a reason, and everything's learning. I would say that we came out of the gate strong. The only thing that I wish that we would have done differently is that we would have mastered the events better.
Okay.
And unfortunately we started to get them down, and then COVID killed it. And it's kind of like, if you go through a phase that you're really healthy eating and you're working out, maybe you're trying to look good to go on a beach vacation, and then you go on that vacation and then you let yourself go for a little bit, but it's hard to restart that cycle back up. After COVID, we didn't have the attendance of the events.
Yes.
The interest didn't seem there at the time, and so that kind of impacted us, and so it was for us. It was, I wish we would have learned maybe the internet marketing side a little bit better,
Mm,
but I don't think I wouldn't have changed it.
fair. And it sounds like you leaned into it right away. You saw the vision. You were going to create a Keller Williams franchise, and instead you went in on the EXP platform and saw the value. So you went directly in. You didn't sit tight and wait.
But that was our only reason. I mean, again, our business was doing well. This wasn't
Yeah.
to take our business to the next level. What we wanted to create was another income stream, because at some point, as people become successful, what ends up happening, the more houses you start selling, you have less time. You got more money but less time. And then what do you start doing as you get more money and less time? You start to figure, you're starting to look, where can I go put my money that I can invest in, that hopefully comes back and returns me tenfold, 50-fold, 100-fold, so that I can start earning residual and passive income, so that I can actually slow down work. And so
Exactly.
the entire reason for our move was to come build that additional residual income stream, because the way that I see this is look, a capping agent is before the $4,000 first year bonus started, that was a $2,800 income for us. Well, if I go look at if I were to go invest in a rental property, back then you're hoping to get minimum $200 a month cash flow. That's 2,400 plus whatever down payment, and then I have to worry about tenants tearing up my property and having to put money in it, or if they miss a payment, then I have to come out of my own pocket. Well, to me, I saw building residual, the revenue share, as stacking up rental properties without coming out of the down payment money, or having to worry about someone skipping out on rent, and then I have to pay a mortgage, or then I have to go repair it when they, to do make readies when they tear it up. So I just looked at it as like a monopoly board, as I'm stacking up all these houses, and eventually, hopefully, put a hotel on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you on that. I do a webinar on how I created 90 properties in 5 years, 90 rentals. And it's the same thing. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of time. There's a lot of headache with it. And I also, on the financial services side, retire doctors every day that worked 35 years making 300,000 a year in a system, and they have been able to create this pension of 3 to 4 grand that I created within a couple years here. And they had
Yep.
to work 35 years to get it. So it's such a beautiful thing for us to have that opportunity to create what I call kind of a pension, what you would call kind of that long-term revenue. It's a very, very beautiful thing. And I just lost your picture, Nick. Are you still there?
Yes. Let me see what
Okay.
happened. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So
Okay. Well,
we're
yeah.
still
Well, yeah. Jesse's fixing the camera. I don't know what happened here.
okay. Well, we'll keep rolling.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Um, Perfect. And guys, for all of you on this call, I'm going to open it up to questions here. But Nick, let me ask you one more thing. As you lean into today and you look at the value of the platform, you've now been here for 6 years, so you get the value of the platform, you get the opportunity that's available to us. What one word of advice would you give to agents that are are dabbling with the idea, but maybe not necessarily leaning into it just yet?
What's the risk? What's the risk if they lean into it? I would say that the reward outweighs the risk. And, you know, in my opinion, there we go. There we're back. In my opinion, there's going and building your revenue share network is the same way as you going to build your real estate sales business, except that your revenue share network, as long as that agent stays here, as long as that agent continues to close deals, you get paid over and over and over again. How awesome is that? Like,
Very.
the way that I've looked at this is, I mean, I've sold thousands and thousands of houses. I've been on thousands and thousands of listing appointments. And I'll tell you that I've only been paid one. Every time I got a sale, I've only been paid once. They didn't keep paying me for that one sale. And it's a lot of work, especially if maybe you've got some personal stuff going on, or maybe you're getting a little tired, you're getting a little older, you're getting a little burnt out
Yeah.
of always having to stay on that hustle grind to go find the next deal.
Right.
Just come provide value. Reach out to agents, connect them with your team, your upline. Show them there's value here. I promise you. One thing is that I left out is in 2021, Keller Williams offered me $1 million to come back. If I would have said yes, they would have wrote a check, $1 million check, as soon as I would have signed on that dotted line to come back.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it was tempting.
Yes.
Real tempting. I could have done a lot of investment damage with $1 million.
Yes.
And what I was looking at is they were basically just prepaying me for a certain amount of revenue share. That once I was past those years, obviously I'm now in the negative, unless I could invest that million plus, or whatever was less of after taxes. I don't know how many people would actually have turned down that check when faced with it. That's how much I believe in this brokerage, in this company, in this opportunity. To have turned down $1 million right then and there, my team would have stayed the same. That business would have stayed the same. But it also would have created less opportunity for them, because
Absolutely.
they don't have the same opportunity there as they do here. And that's what I love about it, is everyone has the same recruiting and attracting opportunity, No one's paid different. You bring in a capper, you're paid the same as everyone else. You're paid the same as me, as Jay Kinder, as Brent Gove. So what's it going to hurt? Just reach out, have conversations, put it into your weekly lead generation and follow up time.
Yes,
Set up 3 ways, get them on trainings, just whatever trainings that you guys have, and you'll be in 12 months. Your future self will thank your past self for doing so.
yes. That is beautiful advice. And that's an amazing testimony because most of us on this call have not been offered $1 million to go somewhere. And to hear the belief in your voice is amazing. So thank you for sharing that. Now I'm going to open it up to questions. Who has something that Nick can help them with? Just come off mute and go ahead and share.
Hey Nick, this is Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, you mentioned that you don't do the social media for your business, that somebody downline from you does it, or
Well, she has attracted through social media I mean, she's got 100,000 plus followers on TikTok and Instagram and all that, and she's built her attraction and her business through videos. That is not my style. I'm kind of an old school person. I still read the newspaper by hand, not online.
did she create that after she joined, or was that something she brought with her?
She had built a successful YouTube channel, and so and she was an independent broker. So she had kind of brought that over and just had this national following just from
Gotcha.
her YouTube channel, and then she transferred that into social media, into the Instagram and TikTok reels. And look, I've tried to recreate it. I'm going to tell you, it's hard. It's just I don't look as good as she does. I don't sound as good as she does.
Yeah.
And that's a lot more work rather than saying, "Hey, Craig, can I, can I just have a conversation about your business?"
Yeah. Yeah. How I just signed up with Kelly in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm completely new at this. My history is having my license so that I could sell my own flips. So I'm not as much of a retail agent as most of the people that come in. Um, where would you suggest that I start? I mean, we're here at Agent Attraction Day.
Sure.
So as far as, I mean, I know a whole bunch of agents here in town. I don't feel like I know the business well enough to present it to them yet. So
Let me
what
ask you this: what brought you here in the first place?
I found Kelly on Facebook, and it was very attractive. The concept was very attractive. The training is especially impressive. I came from Caldwell Banker, who has a pretty comprehensive system of training and such, but it's confusing, and it's boy, there's so much of it you really never know where to start, where to stop, what's valuable, how much time you're wasting, that type of thing. And that's something I hope to avoid with this. I'd like to start in the direction that's going to get me there as quickly as possible.
So I think you just nailed it, Craig. I think that what brought you here is the same thing that would bring others here. And what I would look into and just kind of dive into and get with Kelly on is understand the fast cap program, the 6 week, I
Yeah,
think 6 or 8 weeks
I'm
fast
signed
cap
up for
program,
that. Yeah,
and share your journey on that. The other thing is you did your own flips for the majority of agents that I've spoken with, and all the interviews that I've had with agents, as a lot of them got into this just like I did to be a real estate investor. Not many of them that I've talked to in our interviews have said, "I just want to make millions selling houses." They've talked about
right.
becoming an investor. And so I would build a training and have Kelly support you, or bring in whoever your support mechanism there is locally, and bring in how to work with flippers like yourself. I'm going to tell you, I'm a flipper. I was, and I would hate working with myself. If I would not want agents to,
Yeah,
I would scare them away. And most real estate investors, most of them are tire kickers. They're just full of hot
yeah,
air. they read a book, they went to a seminar. And so
Right.
you can teach a class on how to work with great real estate flippers like yourself and how to be valuable to them. What is valuable, as an agent to an investor? Because, in my opinion, they're not loyal. They're like cats. If you put milk down at another house, they're going to go over there and they're going to keep going back. And then once that milk's gone or one day misses, they're going to go to the next house.
No
So
question.
yeah,
No question.
so build that out. You got a lot of experience, it sounds like. So that's what I would really lean in on.
Yeah. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Craig. And Melvin, I see that you came off mute. Did you have a question as well?
Yes, I did. Thanks for sharing, Nick, and
Absolutely.
congratulations on your success.
Appreciate it.
You were talking about networking events, and I wanted to find out what type of events are you doing? Are these lunch and learns? Are you doing that for agent attraction?
No, so everything I'm doing is designed to, one, I want to further brand and build the Nick Good, right? I'm going to talk in third person for a moment if you allow me to. And I don't want to do lunch and learns. I don't want anything to be branded EXP. I want to brand myself. And then we start getting in conversation. So it's like, Melvin, if you're throwing networking events, and you're saying, hey, we want to look, the market's tough right now. We know it's tough. Everyone's feeling the pinch, the pain. It doesn't matter how big of the producers were. There's a few people that are doing better, but the majority are doing worse. So let's come together as a group. Let's collaborate. Let's share strategies, maybe even bring someone out, a speaker, really quick. Don't make it long and boring, of just sharing success. Don't sell anything behind it and saying we're broke. This is broker neutral, broker inclusive. We don't want any recruiting talk, nothing. And then behind it, you start getting in conversations. Say, Melvin, how's business going? Tell me about what's going on, man. Like, what do you believe would just break that dam loose that you would be flooded with business? And then I'm taking mental notes. And then I'm going to come back and either shoot you an email, a text, or find you on Facebook, and I'm going to drop a DM in there, and then I'm just going to build that relationship and see if I can connect you with the right deals. Or maybe if you go, you can go look at it. This is what Kinder and Reese are doing. Like I'm using their deal, partner with nickgood.com. So if you go to just take a look at that, and I'm sure that you guys have access if you're using Reese's kind of similar stuff. But I'm like, oh, we've got done for you systems. Everything, Melvin, that you just talked about, we've got done for you systems just like that. Would you take a look at what I'm offering to see if that's valuable? I'm not trying to sell. Hey, would you just take a look at it? There's a if you sign up, there's a video behind it. Take a look at the video. Just let me know. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was talking to a guy that I've known. I've never actually met him in person. He feels like he knows me from the podcast. So I'd also, honestly, I would start hosting podcasts. The studio that I'm in does it nationally. So you can go to Tore studios.com, torestudios.com, and just connect with Jesse. He does national shows. But I've had this Remax agent that's doing 60 deals, husband and wife, 60 deals a year, feels like he knows me. And, I called him up 2 weeks ago. I said, hey, how's it going? Just checking in. And he kind of told me how business was going. I said, hey, will you check? His name's Steven. I said, Steven, will you check something out for me? I've created this marketing system that our agents are getting to use and deploy. Would you sign up and take a look at it? He said, yep. I said, great. When do you think you could watch it? And he told me a date. He missed the date. He actually texted me and said, hey, I'm going to watch it. Call me on Tuesday. I called him last week, had a conversation with him. He said, this video touches everything. He's like, man, and who created this? Because it touched every problem that he was facing. He felt like he was starting to fall behind. He was an old school agent, and wasn't getting the attraction. His business was starting to suffer a little bit. He was making cold calls, et cetera. And he's like, how does this work? He started asking buying questions. How does it work for a husband and wife and all that? So that's all it is. That it just comes down from networking and then ultimately I would say build a podcast.
On your networking, you're not using EXP at all. It's all your branding?
No, all my branding.
Okay.
The more that you brand EXP, I'm going to tell you, if you brand EXP, you're going to get less people. Brand yourself. It needs to be the Melvin Show.
Nick, I want to thank you. Your share has been tremendous. Your story is absolutely fascinating. And I want to thank you for coming in here and just pouring into us today. Would you like a copy of this recording as we wrap it up?
Sure, I love it. Yeah.
Okay, I will have Sean get that off to you. And we truly appreciate the gifts that you provided for us today. So thank you for coming in.
Love it, love it. And look, if I'm allowed to do a shameless plug,
Please.
co-sponsorship's now open. So if you guys need anything, it helps everyone out. I would love to earn an opportunity, maybe be a co-sponsor. So shameless plug on that, where it helps. Hopefully, it helps everyone in y'all's organization too.
And co-sponsorship is, to me, the best thing since sliced bread in terms of our ability to just continue to further collaborate. So
it doesn't take away; it only adds. It's freaking amazing.